Video games! Welcome to Filthy Casuals, a podcast about video games hosted by three very kind and extremely knowledgeable boys. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Tommy Desolate, and joining me as always...
It's a little rich to call us extremely knowledgeable, Tommy, because the evidence is there. People can call us up on that. It's Ben Vanel here, rounding out the trio, as always, a man who actually is knowledgeable and extremely kind.
Hey, I'm not extremely anything, but I've got knowledge, but enough knowledge to know that I don't know everything. And that's, I think it was someone misremembering what the Buddha said, who said... they who say knowledge is all in their head don't got it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's how it goes. What's that thing called? What is it? Dunning-Kruger effect, where you know so little about a subject that you have no idea how little you know about it, so you don't know how incompetent you are because of your low level of competence.
Oh, I like that.
I think that's
I
it.
like
Yeah.
I think I have that about the Dunning-Kruger effect.
It's, when someone fucking... anyway, we don't need to get into that. Clearly, I've been dealing with people in England
Yeah.
recently.
Sounds about right.
Googling stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which,
here we are. We don't know shit about anything, and you have made the decision to click on this episode and listen to us for an hour. So you... by virtue, know even less than us.
But you know that guy telling you that he doesn't know shit about anything, that means he knows some shit about some shit.
Yeah,
Which, the fact that you clearly think you do by saying that you don't means that you probably don't, because technically that does mean that you do think you know some stuff.
Yeah, it's a double bluff, essentially, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like a mesa? I guess that would be a double bluff. If a bluff is one cliff, then the other side would... Hey, fuck this. Speaking of England earlier...
Yeah, what's going on? UK
Do you want to hear
update.
Do you want to hear some stupid shit happen? I mean, it's an ad. I'm going to talk about an ad now, but I think it's a cute ad. I like this type of ad. This is the sort of thing where it's a little bit of extra effort. It's a little bit... thoughtful. Sony has paid to do up one specific carriage in the on a train in the tube. There's only one carriage with 30th anniversary PlayStation sort of decor on the inside of it.
Right.
So they've redone the like upholstery on the seats to have like the PlayStation symbols, the X's and the O's, and so the bottom of the flip up seat says some Sony logo, play has no limits. I think there's like blue trim around the other ads that, by the way, there are so many fucking ads on the trains here. I mean, there are in lots of places. There are ads all over the shop these days, but like there's a whole advertising industry that runs in London based on the fact that no one in London wants to make eye contact with one another. So if you just put ads at directly above eye level where people will look as though they're not aware that there's anyone around them, you can make a lot of money.
I feel like I've noticed that way more when I've traveled than here. Like definitely in the tube stations as well. Those like massive kind of billboard ads that are like in the tunnels as you're walking around. And Japan's got like the little screens above the door.
Yeah,
like Japan kind of same thing. Everyone's kind of keeping to themselves.
Yeah.
Just watching a little mini TV that's showing an ad for Pikmin 4. Legitimately an ad I saw more than anything else on the train when I was in Japan at the start of the year. Constant ads for Pikmin 4, which just made me so happy.
I mean, that's great. I would love that because the ones here are genuinely like the ones that stick in my mind. KFC ads where people are fucking dipping chicken in baked beans, which is just, they sell baked beans is like it's like probably, I don't know their sales figures, but it seems more promoted than gravy as the like default side.
That is something
KFC.
that is something that we would make up about the UK.
Yeah.
That's like, what's the fact that like Coke is like the highest selling beverage everywhere in the world apart from like in Adelaide, it's like Farmers Union iced coffee. And then our made up version would be, and the highest selling drink is, in the UK, it's actually baked beans. And I know what you're thinking. It's not food. They've checked and they're drinking it straight out of the can.
And they don't think it's weird.
That's what's fun about making fun of British people is because I go, that's fucking ridiculous. It's not a drink. It's a sauce. No, it isn't. And then the other one is like probably an IKEA ad or some furniture shop where its big pitch is like, flat too small. Get one of these weird shaped couches. And like, that's so depressing that you're crammed in this fucking tube tunnel. And it's are you going home to somewhere that you'd barely fit? Yeah, well, this is expensive. Have a go.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You think this train's too packed? Wait till you get to your shit little apartment. Get one of these beds like Eddie Valiant and you can sleep in the wall.
They've brightened up all of that. Sony have, PlayStation have, by chucking, just a little bit of color on this train. And it's like not too fuck PlayStation, hey, bye. It's pretty, as these things go, tasteful. They look like train seats.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. Yeah, right. So it's not like a 90s version of this ad where the trim on the seats is like a little fabric printing of Crash Bandicoot, like decapitating Mario and shitting down the hole in his neck.
I mean, that would be better than the one they haven't changed the seats into QR codes and shit. Like, it's not
sure. It's not
disgusting,
too harsh.
and you barely notice it. And it's one carriage on, I think, the Victoria line. So,
shout out.
Daddy's got a train to catch, I guess. I'm gonna go.
I'm looking at some of the photos now. They even look like they've updated or redone like the accessibility signage and stuff. It's all like in perfect
That's cool.
Blue sort of monochrome, like PlayStation colors. The one thing that is a little extra, they changed all of the signs at the Oxford Circus station. Instead of the circle, the tube sign, they've got circle, cross, triangle, and square.
Sure.
Which it looks cool.
I think we've talked before about how it is so funny that PlayStation are like, no, our brand is these shapes. It's like, Coke trademarking the specific. No, is it? Maybe they've both done it. Cadbury have like trademarked the certain shade of purple, and PlayStation's been like, the circle, that's one of ours.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really like PlayStation advertising's relationship with the UK in particular. It's always been sort of weird where like in the 90s, it was all of that sort of stuff is very UK heavy, that Crash Bandicoot tearing people's heads off, or like all the nightclub stuff where they were putting PlayStations in, giving them away with ecstasy and whatever. Like it's weird. And like even the poles and shit are blue in here. I think that's a bit of fun. That's the sort of thing that you'd like to get the job to do if you were in ads.
It's cool when obviously it is an advertisement for what they're hoping is that it reminds you to potentially buy a PlayStation, but they are also in the position of celebrating the 30th anniversary. Right. So like you kind of get the license to just basically do this neat thing that is a celebration of the legacy and the aesthetics and everything. It doesn't have to just be like a little poster on the train saying buy a PlayStation. You can just go like, this is a cool little piece of art. Like you can detach from it and be like, oh, I'm not just ruthlessly being sold something. Like someone in at head office was like, this will just be cool, let's just do it because it's fun.
And I don't think you can really count something as an ad if it's put in a place where they know people are going to shit, piss, and vomit on it. So,
right. Mm-hmm. I saw
it's just an installation.
I saw a carousel on a Instagram account about gaming that I follow that was like a collection of this period of time where all of gaming ads were kind of horny, and there were the ones where I think it was PlayStation. They have the condom wrapper, and you can see it's like. This. And there's like Nintendo ones as well.
Do you want to know why I remember that specific ad where there are 4 condoms, one with a circle like a normal condom, one with a triangle like the condoms I have to buy, one with a cross, one with a square.
Yep.
It's because I had that ad in a magazine when I was too young to know what condoms were. So I vividly remember asking my mom, like, I don't get this ad. What does this mean?
Oh, bro.
Yeah. She was like, that's what I should have worn instead of having you.
That's what I should have worn?
Anything would have been better.
That's what I should have whacked in there beforehand.
That's what the cross one is for, I guess. So
I should have put that over my head to sort of put off anyone.
But even like there's all these Game Boy ones where they're going like the second best thing that you can do in the dark. Like there just was this like period where every company was just even a very child focused one as Nintendo was doing these like weird horny ads.
Get sucked off while you're playing a Game Gear. It was really full on for a while there.
I will say like PlayStation colors and probably Nintendo would do a very classy train carriage takeover. I don't want to go in the Xbox train carriage, personally.
No.
They do have the worst shade of primary color out of any of the three.
Yeah.
That sort of acid green, that, if anything, just leans further into the fact there'll be shit, piss, and vomit everywhere.
I mean, the fact that the only times I've seen that color kind of line up with the branding stuff they've done are with Monster Energy drink and like Lynx body wash.
Yeah.
Is very...
I really hope when we do get the Switch 2 reveal video that they go back to this horny style of advertising, and it's just like it's not someone playing the Switch on a rooftop party. It's like people sucking and fucking just playing the new Mario.
It's Doug Bowser, like, it opens up on that like white background Nintendo Direct thing, but Doug Bowser like comes up from the bottom of the frame and wipes his mouth to start the ad, and he's like, guess what?
Like, it has the bit where like there's the 4 people sort of at the park, the picnic table, and they've got their, switches on their stands, and there's a basketball court in the background.
Yep.
But, they all pause the game and run over to the court and just start fucking humping away.
This is almost like an Eminem music video that we're pitching.
Yeah.
It's like Eyes Wide Shut. You have like an Eyes Wide Shut scene, but instead of wearing masks, they're all wearing Labo VR headsets.
Oh, yes.
Playing the Switch 2 in a circle. Yes. And it's like a ton of people playing the Switch 2 around one... Anyway, whatever.
Yeah. No, I love it. That's the way to differentiate it and let everyone know we're in a new era of Nintendo.
Well, I'm seeing a lot of whispers. I mean, we've been seeing a lot of whispers and fucking stuff like that for ages, so there's not too much to talk about. But January, people are saying for an announcement now.
Yep.
But in the meantime, there's pretty credible reports that Sony are also working on a new handheld.
Yeah, because I think this week I don't know can you access it in Australia? I'm not quite sure, but on PlayStation Plus, if you've got the PlayStation Portal, you can now play that stuff fully remotely, right? Like through the cloud, I think was the thing that I saw. Like you don't have to be like paired to the console.
They're certainly bringing it in. I don't know if they put it out yet or something, but yeah, I did see that they're...
Just an announcement that is a thing that's like coming down the line for select games, which is...
stuff on like the PlayStation Plus Premium or whichever it was that's their existing sort of streaming thing. Whichever tier of all that PlayStation Plus stuff gives you access to that.
I didn't, pay too much attention to the news, obviously, because the internet in this country renders it completely obsolete for us anyway. But I did see people in other parts of the world saying like, oh, this kind of like really opens up the usage of the PlayStation Portal and makes it, immediately, significantly more attractive of a purchase. So that's cool.
Well, and then more friendly to the land down under is that this handheld that they're apparently working on, because whatever the fucking PlayStation hardware department, whatever's going on there, they are cranking out bits of fucking plastic left, right, and center. They love to make a thing that no one has any idea how to support. But this one makes sense because it's probably a little bit away, and the idea is that it would be able to play PS5 games, that library, natively.
Yes.
So you'd imagine that's some time away to play a PS5 game on a handheld, but like maybe around the launch of a PS6, if they put out something like this alongside that, hey, play all the old games, and then probably fucking 2 or 3 years worth of cross-generation games will still be coming out on PS5 versions.
Yeah, everything's pretty much back-gen anyway. And I guess also too, Sony have never really cared too much about what the price of their hardware is. So like if you're assuming that the consumer will pay good money for a portable PlayStation 5, then you know what I mean? Like you don't have Nintendo get kind of hampered by their tech because they want to keep the costs down. They want to be able to get it as like a gift for kids, whereas Sony know that they're pitching to people that won't balk at the price of the PSVR 2, for example, no offense.
I really feel like Sony's target, like for some reason in my head, the person that Sony seems to be imagining is their audience is like Patrick Bateman.
Yeah.
No, Adam, it's you. It's like, it's you.
No,
you've got the
you
PSVR
don't understand.
2. You got on the call, you were like, boys, they made a train that looks like the PlayStation. It's literally you.
It can't be me because you don't understand, Tommy. I'm simply not here. Like, there's something about, I don't know, the clean white and the price or whatever. But yeah, the PlayStation Portal is sold really well. And if that comes out, being able to be a PlayStation Portal for PS6 games and natively play this other stuff, that could be really cool. And it could compete with the Switch, which is likely to be their only major direct console competition one of these days. Xbox, Microsoft, they're working on a handheld. That's known as well. But.
Yeah. We talked about that last week, I think. But also, like very vague and very far off into the future. Which, maybe also sparked this sort of little leak or this little, bit of news that, certainly don't want to be left behind. But I don't know. Like, I feel like, you guys are more portable gaming enthusiasts than I am, and like the Steam Deck is like has become really popular. Do you feel like this is something that you would want, like in addition to a home console?
In addition to, I don't know, but because I keep seeing people reposting the original Switch launch trailer, and it's so funny watching that now, remembering when that was being rumored about, and when it was dropped, it was how the whole thing of it was, oh my God, it's the home console thing, but you take it on the go. So it's like a handheld, but it's handheld games have always felt like handheld games. This is the full experience on the go, and how much of a thing that was where people were like, oh, I'll be able to play The Witcher on the train. And now like your phone in, like 7-8 years, which is, kind of a long time, but also not, now your phone can play Resident Evil 4 and like that. The idea of that being this crazy novelty is sort of, it's don't get me wrong, it's still great, but it doesn't really stick out as the like, oh my God moment of, wow, we're truly in the future. It's almost just like a given now between like the cloud stuff on the Xbox and on Microsoft's storefront and everything. And I
think it's the middle ground stuff that's the most appealing to me, like the Switch, like how laptops have kind of like, for most people, they don't even consider getting a desktop unless they need one for a specific thing. You know what I mean? A laptop is the given, because then you can plug it into a bigger monitor if you want, Everything's shifting in that direction. I think I'd be in favor of if I could have a Steam Deck instead of I've got a laptop, like a gaming laptop now. So, and I think it's the versatility of it is great. Plug it in if you want, don't if you don't.
Yeah,
it's your life.
I think I'd rather that if it was what we're speculating, that it was around the time of the PlayStation 6 being launched, and then it was also, here's this portable thing that can play the PS5 library. I probably would feel like, well, I've played that library, and the new stuff that is coming out, I rather would play on the actual console at the highest possible fidelity. Who knows, maybe the internet and maybe the portal and the streaming capabilities of that kind of stuff linking up with the console is a bit better by that point, but I'd probably be more enticed by the actual console than having to make a pick between a last gen one.
Maybe all of it falls apart by then. Anyway,
that's fingers crossed. That's why I'm not too invested either way, because that's what I'm really. That's when Mum's asking me what I want for Christmas. I'm like, hey, if you could just, chuck some diesel in the car that doesn't need it, burn some tires, just speed this thing up. That's what I want.
I'd love for it to be my last, if that's all right. If you can sort that one out, then, we don't need to worry about like a Kris Kringle or anything.
Yeah, but that song Last Christmas, I'm listening to it in a very different way.
But essentially, like having a home, you'll get the Nintendo Switch too, I guess, is the other point. It's like you will have a hybrid console, and you may or may not like get a update a Steam Deck or what, like. There are other devices that perform that function, and I guess that's always been the appeal, and for us, because we're such a established like gamers, and we have a sort of mental image of what the PlayStation is. It's like, I want to get that as a home console. It's the most high definition one. It's the most powerful. Like, I want to play Uncharted 5 and be able to see the pause on Nathan Drake's face. Like, that's kind of the,
I want to see
thing.
the individual beads of, I want to see the individual beads of sweat on that whore in church.
If it were a toss-up between, hey, the PlayStation 6 is X powerful, and then the whatever they call it, Portal 2 or something, is like plays games natives, but is like X over 2 powerful, like is half the fucking. Then I would go for the better thing, assuming it wasn't $50,000. But I like. People are buying this stuff, and I think it's just great to have lots of options. Why not? Like,
that's true.
It's the same as with all those PC handhelds. There's no harm in having the Legion Go and the this and the that. Like, people are going to get one and stick with it for a while. And
I mean, the great move would be you kind of combine these two ideas that we're talking about. So you've got a handheld that can natively play the PS5 library, that's got that hardware in it, but then it also can link up and do basically what the Portal does when it's in your house and stream it at PlayStation 6 level quality, as long as your internet is good enough to, being able to kind of do both. And if you don't have good enough internet, just being able to run it natively bumped down on its own hardware would be really great.
Yeah, I've always loved the idea since the Switch of that dock is a computer too, and it powers up the thing you're putting in it, like a Mega Drive, plugging a 32X into it.
Oh,
that went really well. That messaging was great, and like when you put it in, it goes like it makes some fake fucking noise that powers it up.
Yeah.
Being able to just have, lots of different options depending on what your interests are, to a point, is great, and then it gets overwhelming. But
yeah, no, totally, and great to reference the 32X, because there's that meme of the Mega Drive that's got all of the different kind of add-ons plugged into it, plus the like Sonic and Knuckles cartridges. So like that's where they kind of fell over, and obviously it was a different era. But yeah, if you don't have people clear on what your core thing is, what the different brands all kind of mean, then that's where you start to lose people.
I mean, PlayStation's gotten close to that the last couple of years, the VR and the Portal but the Portal's done well. People just seem to be really positive on the Portal.
Yeah, I've only heard good things about it.
Took me by surprise.
But I think we don't want we don't want the duopoly or the threeopoly, like we do want a bunch of different options, and we don't want any individual company to like over leverage itself and fail. I think that's always been the thing, right? You don't want. We thought Nintendo might have been overextending themselves with the Switch, and we were right, and they've failed. And don't read the news.
Yeah, that's why they haven't announced a new one yet, because they've gone under.
Yeah. If it went so well, how come you're having to make a 2, huh?
Yeah.
Speaking of 2, there will not be a second portion to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, as in DLC. There was that. What was the Intergrade? Was the remake one?
Yeah. Yuffie.
Yes.
A Yuffie movie.
I think there was an interview with someone from Square Enix. I guess what's his name? Who's the director of the remake?
It was Hamaguchi. It was director Hamaguchi.
Sick. He just said we're not really working on DLC because we think people want the third part more than that. So, and he's right as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, the base game is so huge and has so much side stuff in it. Like, there's even in the main quest, there's bits that feel like they could have, like the whole the Golden Saucer? They're fucking around and going and doing all of the little attractions and stuff in there. That feels like something that could have easily been a DLC. It's so chock full of stuff that is all so different from one another as it is. Like, I can't imagine I can imagine wanting more because it's the middle of a 3-part story, but I can't imagine feeling like unfulfilled and being like, I need more quest lines.
I guess the only thing they didn't really do in the base game is get like Vincent and Sid properly as like controllable members of your party.
Yep.
So I guess they could have done like they did for Yuffie, like a Vincent chapter or whatever. But I would much prefer that stuff to be in a third part. And I also want them to make that third part and get it out of the door before Square Enix implodes.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, even in number 1, like you didn't get I feel like Red 7 joins your party like fairly late.
Yeah.
I remember being
who's Red 7?
Oh, sorry.
Is that Red 13's younger brother?
I knew as soon as it came out of my mouth, I was like, I know I've gotten the wrong number.
Do you know what's fun? Is acting like that, pretending I think it would be ridiculous to act like that, but still getting to act like it by pretending that it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Dude, you can do heaps of different things with the one cake.
Yeah. But yes, no, you're right. Red 13 was like a late entrance, and then wasn't controllable.
Yeah, and I remember feeling like,
same.
this little guy seems cool. I wish I'd gotten a bit more time with him. But then knowing like, but that'll be cool. You'll start the next game with him and and they kind of do make him a bit more of a
he gets
a feature straight out of the gate, which is cool. You play soccer with him,
and then obviously
fucking huge.
He has an entire chapter dedicated to him in Rebirth. And
it was great. That was one of my favorite chapters too. When that music kicks in the first time you get to the fucking town in Cosmo Canyon, I loved it.
I was gonna say, I think that was my most anticipated bit of soundtrack to hear, like redone.
Yeah.
And it's so fucking good. And the other
Can
thing,
I ask a question actually, just quickly on this? And I know it's not really a spoiler, and I know we will talk about this game more in a few weeks, but I think I just like logged off momentarily, and I completely missed the justification for this. Why does he all of a sudden talk differently when you show up?
Oh, because he's a child.
Okay.
In reality, he's like, he's old, he's like 80 or something, but in cat years, he's a child.
Yes.
And he's been putting on that gruff voice to seem tough.
Okay.
His
so
natural
he
voice
reverts
is the
back
high
to
one.
his... Okay, cool. That's cool.
I thought you were going to be to ask, why does he talk at all? Which I don't have an answer for.
You know what? Yeah, they never explain that.
Just a talking dog cat, I guess.
I also don't know what he is or why everyone's cool with him or where they're all from or like...
I mean, isn't that... It's so interesting where the suspension of disbelief runs out, where I'm like, now hang on a minute. Why has the tone of his voice changed all of a sudden?
I know he's got a mother and a father, but I don't know how many more of the cat things are out there. But I know exactly why his voice changes slightly.
Yeah. Is that in the original like text? Is that something that they reference?
I think they talk about it, but because it's all text, it doesn't really land in the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
You just think
definitely
it's like
reveal.
They must have gotten a different guy to do the translation of this bit, because all of a sudden it's like a baby wrote it.
Yeah, I think they like mention it or whatever.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, so the other thing that was interesting from the Hamaguchi interview was that he says, after we do 3 and we wrap up, the original game story, I'd really love to do some spin-off stuff and explore some of the other characters in separate games, which is great, and it feels like he kind of knows, where his bread's buttered. It's an incredibly successful franchise, and fuck yeah, why not? Like, remake Dirge of Cerberus to be a good game. Remake, all those other fucking weird spin-offs.
I really hope that the inevitable sort of PC and probably Xbox versions of that game, and probably remake too, do well. And that it keeps going, because, the whole thing around that, I remember, was always like, well, that came out and didn't do what we thought it would.
Yeah.
Speaking of not doing what you think it would, when you click on a game to launch it on a PC, what would you think would happen?
On a PC?
Yeah.
Some sort of update.
Okay.
Computer crashing.
Okay.
Yeah, I've asked the people who want the next Christmas to be the final one, so it makes sense that you're cynical about it. The thing that people hate always is the fucking unnecessary launches that every single fucking publishing company, for a stretch, they really thought they, that they could do. 2K has admitted that they're worthless, and they've deleted their launcher. So for like Civ 6 and all the XCOM and every sort of older game that's still used it, it's gone. There's a very funny part of their website about this where it's like, can I still use the launcher if I want to? And they were like, no, but thank you for your interest. in their own frequently asked questions, which, like, I guarantee you that question would not have come up.
Realizing they fucked it so hard, and then just having this imaginary conversation with a huge fan of the launcher that they made up. But please, FAQ, are you sure? Are you sure there's no way of getting you to change your mind about taking down the launcher?
No,
I have too much time.
We need to preserve every element of a video game. It all needs to be archived. It all needs to be available. I want to access the old Rockstar launcher for the Rockstar Social Club.
Ooh,
I want to access... It is annoying. Like, there are games that, like, And I think that part of it is like, yeah, you buy a game on Steam and you don't expect there to be an intermediary, like fucking third-party launcher in there. You expect to open the game and run the game. Like, Paradox has one, which is really weird and seemingly unnecessary for, like, a strategy. It's like, what am I gonna...
Yeah.
But I guess they're all pushing DLC and shit like that.
There's stuff that I forget that I own because it's in, like, a separate launcher to like open Steam. I've got my library all there, and if it's not on that list, I just forget that it's on my PC. I never look anywhere else.
Yeah,
basically everyone other than like Epic, I think still Ubisoft, and EA has their own store. But there was a stretch of time there in like the mid 2010s, I guess, where they were all kind of jostling to maybe have their own storefront alongside Steam, and that's always what those launches were. It was like, and you could also buy these with fucking cyberbucks here at the CD Projekt. So I guess they've got GOG, which is like another one.
Yeah,
but good riddance. Get rid of them all. Also get rid of Steam. Make everything just launch from an exe
files.
like they used to.
Oh yeah.
Open up
Send me a
DOS.
CD. Refuse to run without it in there. And just quickly, speaking of CDs, there's a couple other little things here. But speaking of CDs, CD Projekt, mentioned them before as well. They're bloody working on The Witcher 4. It's in full production. That's the news.
Yeah. Cool. See you in 7 years.
Yeah. How long? It was a
taste?
Fucking long time between when Cyberpunk was announced and came out. That was like I think 6 years, maybe 7.
Yeah.
This will probably be quicker, but also maybe not.
Well, because I mean, still hasn't even really like they've said this, but it hasn't in terms of an announcement. Usually, is also like some form of like mini teaser trailer or something. Mm-hmm. So, given that we haven't even really got that yet, you could argue that it's technically not. That's the sort of announcement, and then it's a long time from that. So, if they're not even ready to show off a little morsel yet, then. Yeah.
They put out, it was just like an image of like that necklace with the wolf in the snow or something, saying like the next chapter of the saga begins, something like that. Mm-hmm.
But then did they already? Because like I saw
they mentioned they were going to do it before.
Yeah. Like this is not even like they mentioned they were going to do it. This is that it's in full production. I mean, and like they've made back I think most of the goodwill they lost with Cyberpunk. Like they fixed it, and then Phantom Liberty was like really, really good. I don't know if it's like a full No Man's Sky, 180 on sort of the sentiment, but
probably not. I think people have moved around to be like, well, I guess I just didn't care about that type of game as much as The Witcher. Some of that, but definitely they've done enough to it to like. The people who still aren't into it is what I mean, though people have that sentiment. But like, they've definitely, I think, probably done enough for most people to at least not outright go like, well, I'm not fucking interested, blah, blah, blah. Like, people.
But even if those people do feel like that, if Witcher 4 comes out and it's really good, well, then they'll come back. And I guess the most important thing is like, internally, they would surely have learnt about managing expectations and delaying if they need to and all the rest of it, which is the thing that is probably like more important in the long term to get the game out and it being good.
Well, at that, what was that expansion called? Phantom Liberty. You said it. That was great.
Yeah,
I really liked it.
Yeah, me too.
They've already said some stuff about this, that it won't be Geralt. It'll probably be Ciri as the main character and blah blah blah.
I feel like with Phantom Liberty too, like people really gave the whole game a reappraisal around that coming out. So many of the reviews weren't just like, oh, I've played this little extra bit. It's like, well, I used this as my excuse to boot it back up from the very start, and I'd had a lot of issues with it when it first came out, and it feels completely, even just the base there feels completely different to what it did when it launched. So because that was so much of the narrative of people reviewing Phantom Liberty, it really does feel like whether or not you even engaged with it, you do know, like, oh yeah, they did really fix it in a pretty big, significant way, and people turned around on it.
And you're the Black Myth Wukong correspondent, Ben.
Yes.
Tell me.
So, the CEO of what is it called? Game Science, I think.
Yeah. I think so.
who made or released one of the two, Black Myth Wukong. Their CEO was talking about sort of the success of it. It was at one of the recent awards shows, I think the Golden Joystick, where it won Best Game, I'm gonna say. He mentioned that there's a big surprise coming later this year for Black Myth Wukong fans.
We're deleting the game off every service.
Yeah. You've had it.
You'd imagine
now.
it's DLC gets announced at the Game Awards or something like that, right?
I guess so, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
It's still a mystery. It could be anything. It could be some kind of monkey robot that is tied into the game. It could be
the Chic Hydrobot Monkey Edition.
Yeah, could be a TV adaptation. No, it's almost definitely DLC, which would be sick. Great game, really hard, but looked awesome.
I got to go back to it. Speaking of going back to things, the scene of a crime is often a place that criminals will go back to, I'm led to believe. And I don't know where you go back to if you steal a truck, just the part of the road where you got it, but thieves have stolen... There's been a lot of fucking truckloads of video game shit get stolen over the years.
Yeah.
Are they targeting the video game trucks, or are they just taking a truck and hoping for what you get? Is it like opening a fucking pack of Pokemon cards? You're just doing it for...
These guys, because I read this news article this morning, these guys were targeting electronics. It was basically like they had a level of knowledge about what these trucks were moving, and so a lot of it was like, what were the brands they mentioned? Like Sonos and JBL and like, just consumer electronics. And
steal me one of them BBL trucks.
Ooh, that's not a semi trailer. That's a full trailer. That's a whole ass trailer.
Cheeky criminal, whatever. That Meta VR headsets, I don't think we've said, by the way. They stole a bunch of Meta, I guess, Quest or the Pro ones, or maybe a mix.
Yeah, like $1.5 million worth. So it's only 3 of the bloody pros. Hey, fucking suck on that, Zuckerberg. But I don't know. I just thought it would be funny to imagine them all like using them together.
Yeah. Playing with them at the hideout is very funny.
Yeah. Or what's the thing in Goodfellas where it's like the truck driver guy coming into the restaurant to give them the tip off? It's like he comes in, he's got the helmet on, he's like crashing into the wall. He's like...
Yeah.
But they all like, they're playing with them and they've got their real guns out and they're shooting and stuff. And then like Spider gets shot. And then the Robert De Niro of the group is like... one of them goes out and buys a really flashy VR headset battery extender or something like that. He's like, what did I fucking tell you? Don't spend any money yet. Don't fucking spend any money. And then they all end up dead in different places with the headsets on.
Yeah.
You've got to imagine any of this is the mob. Like, just imagining Paulie Walnuts, like, strap it in for a bit of Beat Saber is just such a just joyous image.
Oh, Tone. This guy in here, he's looking right at me, Tone.
I swear to God, Tone. Wallace from Wallace and Gromit, he's right there.
It's Rick, Tone. It's Rick right there.
I thought I wasn't immersed, but then they pulled me right back in.
But
he's
the
just a
thing
little
is,
fucking penguin.
But it kind of rewrites the ending of Half-Life 2, Tone. I don't get it. Like, is episode 2 canon or is the ending of Alex canon? I don't fucking get it, Tone.
Man, a VR Sopranos experience. My God. I would love that.
Oh, yeah.
What'd you get these fucking Meta headsets for? I told you to get the Apple ones. Well, they didn't have any, Tone. I think they've already stopped making them.
Gabe. Alex, I liked it.
God damn, I wish James Gandolfini would have loved VR.
Oh, man.
He really would have, yeah.
Oh, that's pretty neat. We're just watching ducks, watching real life, like, 360 cam footage of ducks.
Yes.
He'd love that, Tony Soprano.
Doing
I wonder
his
what he'd
with
have thought
Malfi, remotely with just...
Yeah. Tony, I can tell where you're looking. There you go. I think this thing's broken or something. I don't know what's going on. I think this thing's broken.
Actually, a Sopranos pack for Beat Saber would rock if it had like the theme song, Don't Stop Believing.
Yeah, that's
some bangers in there.
There's probably a third song that plays in the strip club or something once upon a time.
True.
The
pour some sugar on me or something.
What's the Springsteen song? The State Trooper song? Get that in there.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
You could also get some... I don't know, a Beat Saber pack of engine sounds. Flight Simulator is what I'm trying to transition into.
Oh, yes.
I tried again to play it a couple of times during the week, and fucking can't. It doesn't work for me. And a ton of people, there's a bunch of people who've had a lot of problems. The one I'm running into is it'll load up to 97%, which takes a while, and then get stuck there indefinitely.
The
so
worst.
You just can't even get into the menu.
Fuck.
People have been stuck in queues trying to get in because there's so much cloud access necessary for it, and the textures aren't streaming properly.
Sure.
It looks like shit. It runs like shit. Apparently, very bad launch by all accounts, including mine. So that's a damn shame.
Yeah.
I feel this happened with the previous one, right? But I don't know that it lagged on for a couple of weeks. I feel like there was a big patch and it was kind of sorted pretty quickly. It was more like the first 48 hours that were impacted last time.
I certainly don't remember it being anywhere near as bad as this. And yeah, a lot of people are trying to play it, and I don't remember. I think Game Pass was a thing by then.
Yeah.
But
that's definitely how I got it. Yeah.
Fewer people probably in that mix, and yeah, it's a shame, but hey, it ain't the only rocky launch this week, at least.
Yeah.
Because you and I, Ben, have both played some of Stalker 2, Heart of Chornobyl.
That's right. And I feel and I think I've seen it mentioned as well that the first game also launched with a fair amount of bugs. And it was it wasn't exactly a smash hit either. It was kind of a game that grew a cult following over time after, people found workarounds and patches and stuff for, the kind of dodgy, just crashing to desktop amongst various other, pop-in frame rate issues, stuff like that.
There's a lot of stuff where just before we get into what the actual game is I guess, some of the stuff that's broken at the moment universally is the whole world AI system is not on.
Right.
It's meant to simulate locations of creatures and enemies and people and all of that. It just flat out doesn't. It's switched off right now.
Fuck.
And the effect of that is that, people will just sort of visibly activate when you get closer to them, or pop in when you open a chest at a certain point and stuff like that, which makes it feel very weirdly corridor shooter for what's meant to be this sort of more open game.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels very old fashioned. It does feel you step over an invisible X on the ground and then, a zombie jumps out of the grass. That doesn't happen any other time.
It's a big broken. Seemingly, the way it appears is that they couldn't get it working in time when, we can fucking switch it off and launch the game, and they went, fuck, we'll have to.
Right.
So there's stuff like that. The performance is fucking terrible. It runs really badly. You can get it running okay if you tweak a couple of weird things, but it'll always load in the world in sort of blocks. So as you're walking around, it'll hitch regularly as you transition between those areas.
Yeah.
People are blaming it on the Unreal 5 engine that it's using, because that's been a problem for this type of game sometimes. A few Unreal 5 games have had similar problems, but also other people say, no, it isn't that. It's that they don't know how to use this engine properly. It's not the engine itself. It's the anyway.
Right. Because
worth noting that
teams with enough expertise or budget or time have been able to iron out those things in the engine. Yeah, that makes sense. Because they've not had the smoothest development process.
No, that's what I was going to say. It's worth noting that I believe they're a Ukrainian developer, but are working out of the Czech Republic and have been for some time.
Yes.
So they're not in Ukraine, but they are affected by all of that.
Of course.
And to make a video game in ideal circumstances is one of the hardest things in the world to do, it seems like. So, that's a factor, but also, hey, I call them how I see them, Tom. It's like there's some big problems with it where I would recommend not playing it yet, because it seems like there's a good game underneath those things that are turning me away from it.
Yes.
Because on top... Yeah, sorry.
I was going to say, like, I'm interested to... Yeah, I was very interested to hear what you made of it, Nox, because to me, I've played, a couple hours. I'm not a huge way in. I am sort of playing probably less of it than I would if it was running better. I'm getting to a point where I'm like, all right, that's enough for now. That's enough frame rate drops for now. But
it feels bad to play at this point, for sure.
Yeah. When I'm in the loop, when I'm in my flow state, it just feels like a Fallout game to me. It feels like a very serious Fallout game. It is, the open world. It is the quest givers. It is a vague overall sort of plot. I think I like, the sort of overall narrative, and certainly like the background narrative, the atmosphere, the world building, all of that stuff is more interesting to me than any Bethesda game, lately. But yeah, a very basic boiled down, sort of summary of it is kind of like an open world Fallout sort of ish game.
Kind of. I think it's like... The shooting stuff is just all a lot more intricate.
Yes,
and
that's true.
Like realistic, I suppose, than a Fallout game for sure. And you've got like, it's very like old-fashioned PC game where you've got lots of slots that you're dragging things around into, and your weapons will break over time, and you've got to manage this resource and that resource and blah blah blah. So like, it's very sort of not quite like a military sim or whatever, but it's more in that direction than the type of shooting of a Fallout sort of game, where it's that stuff is as sort of pared down as it can be.
Yeah.
And I like that stuff. On the small scale, in like an individual encounter with human enemies in particular, the like sort of freak enemies, I don't know what to call them, but the squid faces and the dogs and the whatever.
Yeah.
They might as well be from Doom or something. Like, they just kind of run at you, or maybe have a power and they try to flank you, and you've just got to sort of shoot them. There's not much to them, but the human enemies in an individual combat, the AI and stuff is really fun to fight. Like, they're kind of trying to flank you. They know the environment. They're trying to hide behind things. They're trying to, like, it feels like back when Half-Life 1 came out, that was like, holy shit, that soldier just hit. It's that sort of thing where you're like, oh, cool. It feels like I'm sort of fighting simulations of people here.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I'm loving it. But like,
the most dangerous game.
And I agree. Like the tone, especially if you don't use the English voice acting and use the I think it's Ukrainian voice acting.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
In there, that's great. The tone and the atmosphere is there. It's just that there are enough bugs as well. So it's not just the performance and stuff. There are bugs where like it will crash on you. It will like, there are problems with like sometimes picking things up in your inventory will replace something else in a weird way and make it disappear. I've had things like that happen. Just dumb things of like a guy wiping down a bar will be using a cup instead of a rag and stuff like that doesn't really matter, but it's pretty constant. It's constant little things.
Yeah, it's like enemies running up and quote unquote hiding behind a wall, but they're clipping all the way through it, which ruins that sort of, interesting AI stuff, which like, I agree with that. Like, and I mean, it's like as simple as like soldiers or like guys calling out to their friends like, hey, cover me, I need to move. And then, someone tossing a grenade. Like, it's just sort of like, this is what these people would do in this situation. It's not as mindless as, like, we do still see it in some games, like really mindless and sort of unrealistic AI. So, that stuff's it's really cool. I've also noticed, and I don't know if this is my computer, like I think it's everything's pretty up to date, but like the textures are pretty unimpressive in a lot of the case. Some of the lighting isn't particularly good. And everything's cranked up to fucking epic level in the graphics options.
Bacon level.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Well, that I don't know if that's stuck or something then, because it probably shouldn't run well on the computer that you have with everything on Epic. So that would surprise me, I guess, if it was all set to that and running particularly well at all. Because like it's pretty demanding. Because it's pretty unoptimized at this point. Like, I don't think it's the best looking game in the world. It looks fine though. And there's a couple of those sorts of guides you can find, like Digital Foundry stuff, where it'll be like, set all these things to Epic and then put this, and this on Medium, and then that's the best way to do it. So it needs more work, I think, because the problem is that when it's feeling good, that's the key to it, is that it's frantic and it feels like quite messy and realistic in a good way. I like that about it, that it feels like it's put a lot of effort into being fun whilst also feeling like it's not a game I'm pointing in the challenges to move my cursor this quickly or whatever. It feels like you're freaking out in a gunfight.
Yeah, because like the extra like complexity to the combat and stuff is like obviously the radiation will affect you, so you kind of need to be avoiding that. And if it's building up, you need to take some anti-radiation stuff. You can start bleeding during combat, which is something you need to deal with separately from just getting your health back up. And you get hungry at certain so there's like a lot of stuff that can, if you're not maintaining it pre-combat, can really fuck you over, and you can just kind of get fucked over in combat anyway, because that would happen in real life.
Totally. And it's like the whole thing is like you're surviving in this harsh environment. So they've got all these things in place to make you feel like you're doing that. But the problem is that whole concept relies on you being pretty immersed in it. And there are so many issues with it technically that it's really hard to reach that state. So you're aware of the cracks all the time and not really able to enjoy it. It's like if you went on the fucking Pirates of the Caribbean ride in Disneyland, but they accidentally left the lights on and you could see all the fucking rigging and you could see you're not going to be like, holy shit, these pirates are real, like I would be with the lights off.
Yeah.
It's so I think I want to wait until it's fixed. I think that's part of what it is as well. As the more I play of it, the more I'm like, I wish I could be playing this later. So hey, I'm allowed to do that.
It's
off, I think, but there's something there.
It's not quite Cyberpunk releasing unplayable on old consoles, but it's close. Like you can see what they're going for, and like I'm not angry. I'll give them the good grace of like updating it, patching it, and all that stuff, getting rid of the bugs, because I do want it to be good, and I do want to play it, and I intend to. I will have to wait.
Yeah.
Most of the side quests and stuff, I guess, if I'm looking for things to talk about, like they kind of do, at least in the I don't know, handful of hours I've played, boil down often to like, hey, I sent this guy over here and he's not come back. Go see what's up with that, and those sorts of things that you can imagine. But the point of the game is to give yourself excuses to get into those gunfights, which against the human enemies at least are really something pretty like characterful and unique, I guess. So it's on Game Pass. You can have a go if you've got that, and different people's tolerances will vary, and different people's individual machines and stuff will vary in the way that PCs fucking make everything a goddamn nightmare. So maybe you'll be fine. And they will be, they're putting out a patch this week, I'm pretty sure. So they'll be actively working on it still. It's just that it's not quite cooked yet.
Yeah. And like we said earlier, that they may have had their hands tied with regards to when they release it and funds and all of that stuff.
Totally. And hey, it's sold really. They've sold 1 million copies already. So hopefully it's given them the sort of injection that they need to keep going. And
I do think, prior to the launch, there was a lot of anticipation, but also, a lot of goodwill given. People know the context of how they're operating.
I think that's something as well as compared to Cyberpunk, is that I don't think anyone's angry about this being this state. I don't think it's that unexpected because the first one took some time and it makes sense that this is going to take some time. Yeah. So, hey, you've got the time. We ain't, make me a fun video game, please.
Yeah.
It's
nice.
You've got the time. It's not a crime.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's how I'm thinking of it.
But yeah, worth checking out if you've been interested, because there's stuff there, and maybe you'll find it a smoother thing. Maybe I'm being picky. Maybe I'm not in the mood. Who knows?
Yeah, like you say, Knox, maybe it is my computer that just isn't up to maybe the settings it's on.
I'd lower some of that.
Yeah. I'll give it because it's not running awfully, but I also think maybe you're right that it's not actually set properly.
And like it's like the first 4. Oh, I forget. People should look it up. But yeah, that's it at the moment. But I think it'll get somewhere.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, speaking of getting somewhere, it's time for us to get out of here for another week. What do you think of that? Pretty beautiful stuff I did there.
Sort of a more conceptual place, I guess. Like, it's not really going somewhere. It's just an idea of not being here, which isn't really like geographical. You can't pinpoint it on a map.
That's true.
Something for the listeners to ponder over the week.
Thanks for listening. filthycasuals.com.au. Get onto the Patreon. Get a bonus show every week that we do about movies, pop culture. We do a mailbag once a month where we go through your questions.
That's tomorrow.
Thanks for joining us. We will see you next time. And as we say here at the end of every episode of Filthy Casuals...
Oh, whoa. Stalker. I barely know her. That's why I was following her.
Oh, yes.
I want to get to know her. Stalker.
Yes.
It's actually, I don't even know what it's an acronym of.